Hello, and welcome back to Noise Kitchen Studios. It is I, Jason, and today I give myself the challenge of trying to explain an audio product that I love that is nearly impossible to give an audio example of. And I'll explain why later, but today we're going to talk about the Slate VSX headphones, which have been the greatest audio tool I've ever bought in my entire life. No question about it. I'm going to go into why I like it, how it's helped me, more importantly. Like my emotions on it are one thing, but I'll give you some actual examples of why I like it, why you might like it, who this product's for, who this product's not for, which the only person I can think of that would be is kind of like a really funny example I'll have to get to later. But yeah, I just feel like I should share this stuff. I just want to talk about something not plugin related, and it's going to be fun. And I'm not paid by Slate. I think I commented on Steven Slate's barbecue pit one time, but they don't know I exist. Actually, no, they have talked to me a few times. Regardless, I was not paid for this review in any capacity. This is entirely my own opinion. And truly, I really have had a lot of fun with these headphones. We're going to go into why they're good and just all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's about it. So thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe. Do it. Actually, on the topic of subscription, there's like 6 people subscribed to this channel now. And if you include me, that's enough for an intramural baseball team. And that's kind of cool, actually. So thank you very much for your subscriptions. I say this every fucking time. I really promise I'm excited to do more content on this channel. In the time between the previous video, which I believe was the one about the Echo Boy, to now, I definitely have undergone a lot of mental, physical, and spiritual improvement in my life. So I'm in a much better place and much more dedicated to work. Not just that, but it's like just get more back into things in general. And that's about all the personal information you'll ever get out of me on a YouTube channel. But that's about it. So what are the Slate headphones, VSX headphones? Who is Slate? Who is Steven Slate? Well, Steven Slate is a beautiful man who has made many great products that I and countless other people who do a lot more in audio love. Plugins, drums. I think he got to start making really good drum loops that you could kind of put into a song back in the early days of Pro Tools. They make these crazy touchscreen consoles that you can use like mix on. I think they're called the Ravens. They're pretty cool. Never really had much of a use for that. They made a cool compressor. They made a really cool audio interface that doesn't work anymore, but it still is pretty good. They make a microphone that I've been debating getting actually in the future, a microphone that models other microphones. And kind of in the vein of how the Slate VMS, I think is the name of the microphone, models other microphones, the VSX is essentially model listening environments, which is really interesting. And it's kind of an idea I had in my head long before these headphones were created. I always kind of wanted someone to mimic listening environments in a way that would work on headphones, which sounds impossible, but it's not. Because I've always just worked on headphones. I don't even own a pair of monitors. I have a pair of like old Logitech computer monitors that I use for like playback, but you ain't mix on those things, dog. They don't sound great. And not even in like a musical, like Oratone kind of way. They just don't sound that good. But, I've always lived in apartments, and actually up until recently, I've always had roommates, and I don't want to bother those people with my dumbass music. So I've just always mixed in headphones, and I've mixed in countless headphones. I had a pair of AKG 701s open backs, really good headphones. I love those, super comfortable. I've mixed in produced, I should say, in a pair of Bayer Dynamic 770s. Almost drove me crazy. Great headphones for everything else. Gave me like a mental health collapse because I could just not dial it in on those headphones. But I've mixed on the Sonys that are like $70. They're really good, but they made my ears hurt. It's got big ears and I clamp them up. Oh, so uncomfortable. And so the VSXs came along, and here they are, and they're really good headphones, and they're good. I've heard a lot of reviews about the VSXs, but I've never really heard anyone explain so what makes these headphones so special? What's the thing that stands that kind of separates these from other headphones maybe of similar design? Not talking about the software, just the headphones physically by themselves. Because on other videos in this channel, I haven't used any of the modeling stuff, and I'll explain why later. I just use the headphones in a plugin that basically like gives a little bit of audio in both, called the Can Opener by Goodhertz. But essentially, the headphones have insane dynamic range, like terrifying. Like if you accidentally turn them up too loud without using the modeling, it'll like take your head off. Like the dynamic range is insane. I've never experienced anything like it. Sometimes if I'm working on music, I have an old Korg Electribe drum machine off camera, and I'll just plug these things into it just to listen back, and like the 808s coming out of the Electribe through these things are fucking huge. So why the Slate headphones are able to do what they do is essentially because like they truly have more just like low end, like correct low end information, high end everything. I've never heard anything like it. It's just like, it's wild, dude. Like it really is. So the headphones by themselves are just really, really good. I mean, I use these all the time just for listening to music as well. But yeah, it's really about it. They're just like crazy, genuinely nuts stuff. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'm going to start with the cons, actually, because the cons are kind of funny. The biggest con I had with these headphones is no longer a problem, actually. This is actually the third pair of these headphones I've owned. The first two, my head broke them. I have a giant Scotch-Irish head meant for getting punched and taking like immense head trauma and solving it through drinking and then going back and stealing more horses and getting punched in the head again. So essentially, you can kind of see this piece of aluminium kind of like right there. Let me pull it down a little bit. So this wasn't on the original pairs of VSXs. The only thing that was load bearing was this piece of plastic. And I snapped them bitches twice because I got a big fucking head, dude. It seems like a melon. And so they would always snap in the same place. It's like, shit. So, but they fixed that. This piece of aluminum now acts as the load-bearing component. So, like, if my head can't break these now, your head will be able to suffice. And to Slate's credit, both times that I broke those pairs, they replaced them like that easy. I had no issues with them. But yeah, it's kind of funny. They're fine now. I've had these for probably a year now or more, and no problem. The engineering problems have been corrected. The other con is not really something that can be avoided by what the Slate headphones are, which is like, I'm not a big closed back headphone kind of guy. Kind of gets claustrophobic after a while. These have to be closed back because they're modeling environments. You can't be modeling a studio and having like outside sound coming in. That's just counterintuitive. And though there is no active noise canceling on these headphones, I don't like that shit either. It makes me feel like I'm having a stroke. These do an incredible job of reducing outside noise. Like I've been startled by people like walking up behind me and tapping me on the shoulder. Like they do an immensely good job of just like keeping things out and all that stuff. But I would say they're pretty comfortable. I can't really complain too much. They're very lightweight. Do I wish they were a little better, like feeling in terms of value? I do. They feel a little cheap, if I'm honest. Like my DT7 is easily the most well-designed headphones ever. You could drive like a screw into a wall with them and go back to listening to Dancing Queen by ABBA and not notice anything. I would not use these to drive a screw into a wall. That'd be a bad idea. But I think retail, these things are like $500 now. I know there's two price points separated by how much software you get. Just cry once, buy once, and get the $500 one because it gets you access to new stuff, like new rooms. Which I think there's like another update coming out soon, version 5. But it's not too big of a deal. At the end of the day, the best part about these is that they are incredibly lightweight. I kind of forget they're there after a while, and that helps because since you're trying to model an environment, it's kind of like an isolation tank, right? Like where you're floating. I've never done an isolation tank. I always wanted to. You know, the idea is that you're floating in water that's body temp, so it feels like you're actually floating. Similarly, these are so lightweight that if you kind of like are imagining you're in the room, you forget the headphones are there, essentially. So those are the cons, but they're pretty minor, I would say, at this point. The head breaking headphone thing is long in the past, I should say. They're good now. So the way that the software works in your DAW, you put it as the last thing on the master bus on your DAW. That's all you do. There's a lot of polite discussion on the internet about how to actually put this on your software. And I don't think it, and people are like, should you turn it off before you balance it? Blah, blah, blah. None of that matters. All you do is you put it on at the very, very end. I do find with Logic, I can't do a real-time balance with this on, or it'll actually print with the software on, but I always just do offline balances these days. If you have something like Studio One, you can put it on a separate bus called the listening bus. And actually, the reason why I never use this software when I'm doing a video with Logic is because if I did, you would hear the modeling without the headphones, which that is the problem with trying to explain these headphones. You can't show what it sounds like unless you have a pair of VSXs. Then you get a better idea. But if I put this on and you're like watching it on a video, things would sound phasey, I guess is the best way to explain it. So that is the challenge. But essentially what you have are a bunch of different rooms, and not just rooms, you have other listening environments too. These days, honestly, I mostly use the Stevens room, which is an incredibly dead sounding environment, which I really like. I didn't like these at first. This is my least favorite to go to, but I've really come to love them because there's not a lot of room noise, and so everything I find I really have a better idea of what's going on. So you have these, you got Old Faithful Archon Studios, which is a more like warm and more like roomy sounding spot. This is my go-to still for a lot of stuff. You got NRG. I've never used this one very much actually, if I'm honest. You got Zuma Studios. This one's really good. Very punchy room. You've got Mike Dean's studio, which is a lot of fun. I like that one a lot. You got this Sonoma, which is more like a bedroom kind of place. Let's see what else you got. You have a mastering studio, which is really fun too. I use that one as well. It's really fun for listening to other tracks and to try to get an idea of where certain elements in your song should sit, because if you can use reference tracks are imperative to using this software. Reference tracks are important for a lot of things in music, but they're really useful for letting you dial in like a song that you think sounds good and dialing in how it sounds good in these environments, and then just trying to generally just ballpark the same sound. I don't go too deep into reference tracking. I don't do like the EQ matching stuff. I think it's kind of silly, to be honest with you, but listening, using your ears and using these rooms to kind of like understand better, like how, if a song you like has a lot of low end and you listen to it through here and you realize like there's actually not that much low end. It's just the way the low end's been crafted. You really start to work your way towards those kinds of sounds. Let's see what we got. To me though, the coolest thing about the software isn't the studio modeling. It's the car modeling. It's the audiophile room modeling. It's the club modeling. This one over here, Club Indie. I love this thing right here. The ability to listen to your music in environments that, unless you got a club that you just walk in and like play your music on, being able to really understand what your mixes will translate like in non-permissive environments is so cool. Like, I hope the next update, if they never added another studio to this thing again, I wouldn't care. Just give me more like clubs. Give me like the speaker in the ceiling at a grocery store. I would love one of those, like that kind of stuff. Being able to use this to check that and to work in that, oh man, it's so much fun. That's what I love so much about it. There's a boombox here. That's another good one. And there's a phone, which I don't use very much either, but it's cool that they added it. It sounds pretty accurate to how a phone sounds. And then you have some actual headphone modeling here, which I don't use these very much, but they essentially model headphones. So you have like a Audex, I think these are. Got AirPods. I use these a lot though, actually. And then some other headphones here. But that's basically how it works. And the thing about these different, we'll go with the studios first. The thing about these different studios is that they all have such a unique character to them that you can really kind of use them to focus on certain points. I'd recommend, if you bought these, to pick a room and stick with it for a decent amount of time. I would say Stevens rooms, actually, in hindsight. The Archon is the one I started with, but I would really recommend starting with Stevens, the most neutral sounding room. But then as you start to branch out, you start to notice like Zuma is a real punchy kind of environment. So you can really work on like transient detail, getting the punch and the mix going really well. Mike Dean's, which might not come as a surprise, is really good for low end stuff. NRG, like I said, I've still never really used this one very much. I never really I never fell in love with this one, but you might be able to. I mean, it's a pretty famous studio. And then Sonoma is more for like if you like to model a smaller environment, essentially, that kind of stuff. One thing I forgot to clarify is that when you actually do bounce offline a mix, the plugin bypasses and it doesn't have any sort of effect on the final mix. It's not there. Poof. Don't gotta worry about it. Don't listen to people who say it matters or they're being too autistic about it. It just doesn't matter. It bypasses it and you're good to go. Harping more on the non-permissive listening environments, the ability to do a car check without having to go to your car is so convenient. And the fact that it's accurate to how cars sound, I'm telling you, it's so crazy. Like, I am old enough to remember the days of having to burn a CDR of a mix, take it out of my car, put it in the car, listen to it, be like, shit, this is that, yada yada. And eventually you could Bluetooth it, and that was better. And I still double check things in my car, but you can just do it here. Boom, throw it in, listening in your car. That's like if you've been in the game for a minute, you're like, that's the best thing ever, because it just does what cars do when you're listening to mixes, which is like the high end gets weird, the low, everything's weird in a car. But it is important because most people, the best sound system they have is their car. Think about it. But so that's great too. That's really fun stuff. Some other reasons why the VSXs are so convenient. They're headphones. You can take them anywhere. Are you mixing on a laptop? Plug them in. You don't need an audio interface to drive them either. I do have a headphone amp these days, a Topping DX1. They're like $100. USB-C them in. And those help a lot, actually. They've really turned these up. But I mean, if you're on the go, you just throw these into your MacBook, and like you can have your studio anywhere. You're not gonna lug around some monitors, are you? I wouldn't. I don't even mix on a laptop though anymore. Technically, I'm using a Mac Mini. I wanted more of a stationary setup. But I mean, if I needed a laptop tomorrow, bing, bang, bong, done. And it's cool. And you can be anywhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. They're very democratic in the way that they work. That they don't require very much tooling to get them up and running, which is just so convenient. I just love it. So in closing, I think the headphones are not for people that have quick access to like 5 different studios, 3 or 4 different cars, 2 different clubs, and who knows what will come in the next update. So essentially, unless you are just like a multimillionaire and for some reason you love making music, for the rest of us, they are just the most convenient Swiss Army knife mixing and production tool I have ever encountered. Truly a blessing. I love them. I can't wait to see what they do next. Each version of software update that comes out, I'm like, they can't make these sound any better, can they? And then they come out with a new update and it's like, oh my God, they sound even better. And tracking the progress from version 1 to, I think it's currently version 4, wild stuff. It's gotten better every time. There was a point in time, actually, I think version 2 or 3, I wasn't really feeling the software. I was like just going back to mixing with just straight headphones. But around version 4, really just like locked into place, and I've really have had a lot of fun with it. I'm looking forward to what they're doing next. So yeah, I hope this was sort of more of a better explanation of the VSX headphones. There's other great reviews out there, but I just wanted to do one from the standpoint of like, how do you explain to somebody? This is my book report that I'm giving to people when they didn't read the book, because they can't read the book without buying the book, because if I tried to have them read the book without buying the book would come out in like a really weird language that made no sense. So I hope this, if you were looking for more of a alternative kind of like take on why the VSX headphones are phenomenal, I'm about to go work on some music later today. I hope this helped. I really do. That's about it. Big things coming soon, I guess. I was working on another video, but I had some weird issues with Logic where it was like, it kind of went sideways. There's a video about the decapitator. I wasn't really feeling the juice in it, but I'm going to go back to doing some plug-in stuff in the near future. But yeah, otherwise, genuinely, thank you for watching this video. If you're subscribed, happy Easter, and have a good rest of your day. Arrivederci.